before television was a thing that was in every single American household, kids had to rely on comics. Comics were strips of drawings and words that when put together would tell a story. Much like an episode of television, it would tell a story about a character, often a superhero, and it would follow this superhero from week to week telling different stories about the superhero. There were tons of superheroes, just like there's tons of different television shows for you to watch. But they all had some things in common. They all fought evil, they had superpowers, they wore costumes, they're the good guys, and they helped people. So those are the things that superheroes have in common, but what about their backstory? What makes them different from the other superheroes? What made them become a superhero? What were they before they were a superhero? Take Storm, for example. Storm is a superhero. She can fly, she can control the weather, and she's a member of Team X-Men. But those are just her superhero characteristics. She also has a backstory. Storm had superpowers from birth, but she didn't know that because when she was a baby, her parents died in a plane crash, leaving her an orphan. Orphaned, she goes to the nearest town where she becomes a thief or a pickpocket. Eventually, she gets a little bit older and she wanders out to the desert. In the desert, she finds a group of people who recognize her superpowers and begin to worship her as a goddess. She lives with them very happily until she is discovered by Professor X, and Professor X asks if she would like to be part of the X-Men. She agrees, and that's when her comic book life begins. Over the next few lessons, we're going to be making our very own comic book hero. Today, you're going to develop the backstory. You'll need to make sure that you answer the following questions: what your superhero's name is, what your superhero's powers are, and how your superhero became a superhero. So you're going to take 2 to 3 pages of paper and fold them in half. Don't staple it, that way you can add more pages if you need them. Then, you can begin answering those questions in whatever way feels best to you. You might want to begin by figuring out your superhero's origin or backstory. So that would be how your superhero became a superhero. I decided to call my superhero Recyclia. Recyclia was born to a loving, large family in a small town in Michigan. Most of the town worked at a nearby factory. One day, there was a big accident. There was pollution pouring out of the factory. People got sick, very sick. And so did Recyclia. But when she got better, she found that she had special powers, so she dedicated her life to preventing pollution from ruining another town. So that's her origin story, it's her backstory, it sets up what she is like. But we also might want to add some pages that go into more detail about what she's like, such as her superpowers. I'm writing that she can fly, that she can shoot lasers out of her eyes, and that she can, with her finger, touch trash and turn it back into what it was like when it was new. You might want to think about what she's like as a person. You could create a collage or a list just listing her likes and her dislikes. Or finally, you can create a comic that tells about an event that happened in your superhero's life. So you're using this zine, this mini magazine, to create the backstory of your superhero. You're deciding what your superhero's origin story is, what your superhero's superpowers are, what your superhero is called, and you can figure this out in any way that is comfortable for you, whether it's writing, whether it's a comic, whether it's collage or drawing, or a combination of all of those.